talk about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, because yesterday Aaron Rodgers held an interview for the first time in 3 months with Pat McAfee. I'm not going to come on here and dissect the video because it was 44 minutes. But I did hear what he had to say. He got to meet with the New York Giants. He got to meet with the Steelers, and he's a huge fan of Kevin O'Connell. He knew Kevin O'Connell for many years now. He knew him through a trainer. They used to work out together. More than likely, if he signs with a team, it's going to be the Steelers, but he's not signing anytime soon. I want to talk about the organization first. They have botched the quarterback position down to the T this offseason. Last year, you got saved by a free agent Russell Wilson when he got cut by the Denver Broncos. You got saved by Justin Fields because he was on the trade block by the Chicago Bears, because everyone knew with the first overall pick, they're going to take Caleb Williams. Russell Wilson wanted to stay with this organization. And I'm not telling you guys this based off of speculation. I'm telling you off of what I know. And the reason why I know this and why a lot of Steeler insiders know this, he had the chance to sign with the New York Giants last year in free agency as soon as he got cut by the Denver Broncos. But who did he meet with? The Steelers. Who did he sign with? Coach Tomlin and this organization. Russell Wilson won the contract extension with this team, but they pushed him out the door. They used this man as the scapegoat. They lost their last 5 games, last 4 games of the regular season, and they lost that playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens. That wasn't all on Russell Wilson, but yet they're using that as an excuse to why their season ended terribly. They're saying, hey, George Pickens went down with a hamstring injury, but Russell Wilson didn't play his best. Russell Wilson played solid in those last 5 games. He didn't play great. He played okay. He played good enough to get them in situations to win the football game. It came down to the injuries with George Pickens. The fact that your defense was not able to go out there and stop the run against the Baltimore Ravens. They weren't able to go out there and stop the run against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they beat you with time and possession. And the defense is a strong suit with this organization right now. Did Russell Wilson go out there and light it up? No. But he was not the main reason to why you lost those games. It was because of offensive play calling by Arthur Smith and the fact that you did not have perimeter weapons on the outside of George Pickens. The Steelers were a one-trick pony when Russell Wilson got into the starting lineup. Remember, he was red hot for the first couple of games, and then the next thing that you knew, moonball down the field. When in doubt, let's moonball it. And then teams realized, cover 2, we're going to have a safety over the top. Just come down, crash in on that moon ball, because Russell Wilson still has one of the best deep balls in the NFL. But when they took the moon ball away, it was only so much that this offense could get away with. This was not a creative offense. And that's on Arthur Smith and that's on Coach Tomlin. So yet the quarterback that you had to start the season, because when Russell Wilson went down his calf injury, you had Justin Fields, you yanked him out of the starting lineup. When he went 4-2, you placed him back in the game as a gimmick quarterback to just run around and pick up yards. You treated him the wrong way. You offered him a contract extension. He said, hell no. I don't care about DK Metcalf being on this team with George Pickens. I'm going to go to the New York Jets because I don't trust you guys with the way that you treated me in the past. So you went with Russell Wilson, who was going to be the starter to begin with. That shows how much faith that you had in Justin Fields to begin with. But it's the way that you treated Russell Wilson on this way out. So he's with the Giants now. Joe Flacco, he could have been a viable option as a solid backup. I think that he's a better player than Mason Rudolph. He's now with the Cleveland Browns. Matthew Stafford, he was possibly up for a trade. He decided to go back to the Los Angeles Rams. We'll see what his contract looks like when he signs that contract with the Rams. So you had quarterback options out there. They weren't the best, but you had options. But instead, you're waiting on a 41-year-old quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, who came out yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, and he told Pat McAfee this: I'm not holding a team hostage. I told them, hey, I'm not going to sign right now. I have a lot of things to deal with within my inner circle. If you want to go elsewhere, I understand. The Steelers could have went elsewhere. They could have re-signed Russell Wilson, who was not terrible last season. Draft a quarterback in the 3rd or the 4th round because you don't have a 2nd round pick, because you trade that pick on DK Metcalf. I applaud the decision, by the way. And then you run it back. If you were able to get to the NFL playoffs with Russell Wilson starting majority of the season and you only had one true option on the outside in George Pickens, imagine what you can do with Russell Wilson in year 2, a full training camp when he doesn't have the rehab from a calf injury, and you have DK Metcalf with George Pickens, Calvin Austin third, and Big Pat at the tight end position. But now you don't have that option. You have Mason Rudolph, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible. I know that Mason Rudolph won the last 3 games of the regular season a couple of years ago. They went to that playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. They got blasted by the Bills. That was going to happen. Mason Rudolph is a solid backup at best. He is not going to be a true starting quarterback all the way going through the regular season. It's not going to happen. And Skylar Thompson is terrible. Those are your starting quarterbacks on your roster right now. So you need Aaron Rodgers to come in and sign, and you need him to sign so he can work out in OTAs and training camp. The reason why OTAs and training camp is so important is because you can build down that chemistry with DK Metcalf. You can build down that chemistry with George Pickens. You can learn the offense with Arthur Smith. You can learn your coaches. They can learn your tendencies. That's why Tom Brady went out there. He was damn near playing in every preseason game. Bill Belichick had to tell him, hey, you're coming out the game because he wanted every single rep. We see this with other quarterbacks. They want to go out there for the entire spring training. Rookie training camp is a bit different. That's only for the rookies. But we've seen other veterans come out for rookie training camp just to throw the football around to some of the rookie wide receivers. We've seen Tom Brady during the pandemic. The man went to the park and said, hey, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, the 3rd and 4th wide receivers also. Let's go out there. Let's throw. Let's build a cadence because they want to win. They put football first. Brett Favre early on, say what you want to say about him now. He's not a great human being. Far from it. But early on in his career with the Packers, that's what he did. When I look at Aaron Rodgers, right now, he doesn't owe the Steelers anything. They put themselves in this situation. But if he's going to sign with this organization, it's best to sign sooner than later. But I'm not even upset with Aaron Rodgers right now. I'm more so upset at the Steelers because you let this happen. You're still waiting around for him. He did meet with Coach Tomlin. He did throw the football around with DK Metcalf. He said a lot of great things about DK. He said a lot of great things about Mike Tomlin. But he's not signing anytime soon. So now look at the NFL draft. You're not in a position right now to reach on the quarterback. If Shedeur Sanders is there with the 21st pick, you select Shedeur Sanders, but you don't trade up for him because you don't have a 2nd round pick. You do have some mid-round picks in next year's draft class, and everyone's hyping up next year's quarterback draft class. They're saying, hey, this is a draft class for a lot of top quarterbacks. I'm going to pump the brakes on that because I don't believe so right now. I look at Drew Allard. He didn't have a great season last year with Penn State. Maybe he improves this year. Carson Beck, he transfers to Miami. Maybe he'll look better with Miami than he did with Georgia. Those are 2 options. We have Arch Manning and a short sample size with Texas. He looked very good. Pump the brakes on Arch Manning. I need to see him play an entire college season. But the upside is there. And even then, the Steelers will have to have a top draft pick to select one of those quarterbacks. But the best option right now with the Steelers, which is crazy, is not Mason Rudolph. It would be someone like a Shedeur Sanders, but you may have to trade up for him. Because with the 9th overall pick, we have the New Orleans Saints, and Derek Carr is apparently dealing with a shoulder injury. They may take Shedeur Sanders. At that point in time, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, they're both gone. You're going to select Jackson Dart with the 21st overall pick, who comes from a one-read system with Ole Miss. He has the intangibles. In my opinion, right now, he's not ready to play. That would be a solid fit long term. But you just rushed on the quarterback a few years ago in Kenny Pickett, and look at how that turned out for you. Your starting quarterback since Big Ben has been Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. 5 different starting quarterbacks. And your offense and total offense is not ranked over 20th in the NFL. That is how bad your offense has been without Big Ben. The highest his passing offense has been over the last few years since he retired, they ranked at 27th in the NFL. That is how far this team has dropped. And this is something this organization has never done before. I know in the past they had their quarterback struggles between Terry Bradshaw and Big Ben. That's going to happen, but it hasn't been this bad. The fact that you're waiting on a 41-year-old quarterback to make his decision, who tore his Achilles 2 years ago, says a lot about where this organization is right now. And even if you do sign Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't solve all your problems. Because I will go back into this argument. Arthur Smith is not a good offensive play caller. You can have all the talent that you want. We saw this with the Philadelphia Eagles a year ago. They won the Super Bowl this season. Just the season before, they looked completely terrible. Jalen Hurts was not the same quarterback because your coordinators were horrible. What did Nick Sirianni do? He went out there, he brought in Kellen Moore, brought in a brand new defensive coordinator. They went to the Super Bowl, they won the Super Bowl. That is how important coaching is in the NFL. And they had a similar roster to what they have right now outside of Saquon Barkley. They had Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, the same guys on the outside. You can have George Pickens. You can have DK Metcalf. They can take the top off the defense. But look at Arthur Smith. His offensive play calling is lazy. It's just a bunch of deep shots down the field, a bunch of slants, and it's a wide zone system with the running backs. That's why Najee Harris cannot work out in this system with Arthur Smith. And speaking of Najee Harris, listen to what he had to say about the Steelers and their offense over the last few years.
Small details that I learned, and I feel like, while I was elevating, it was just the time just ran out, because it was just a team where, we lost Ben, we lost a lot of O-line. We just didn't know anything on offense, really. We didn't have identity. We had a young guy coming out quarterback. I was young, the team was young, and I really didn't have nobody to almost learn from the offensive side. I think the veteran guy on that team was like a 2-3 year vet, and that's really nothing. Like, he's still learning himself, and I'm coming in and I'm just trying to look for people to pick their brain off of, and it was just defensive guys. So I'll go to the defensive guys to talk to them, but it wouldn't be too much they could tell me about an offensive thing. So. Through my years, I learned a lot that, only I learned firsthand. And I feel like here, we got a lot of veterans that
Now, that was Najee Harris talking to the Los Angeles Chargers about his departure from the Steelers. Didn't really say anything overly negative. He was just being honest. He couldn't go to a veteran on the team. And that says a lot about Coach Tomlin and his philosophy with the offense, because you don't have that winning culture. And this is why this organization has been in a situation to where they want to bring in a veteran quarterback, because they don't know how to develop a young quarterback. Coach Tomlin has never been in this situation before. Out of his entire time with the Steelers, for majority of his career, he's had Big Ben. Who did Big Ben develop underneath? Bill Cowher. Now, Big Ben was a great player coming out of college, but Bruce Arians was there to help develop him on the offensive end, one of the best offensive coordinators in this organization's history. But Bill Cowher did a very good job with developing Big Ben. So when Coach Tomlin already got here, Big Ben was already a top established quarterback in the NFL. We have seen the swings. We've seen the misses with the Steelers so far at the quarterback position. And Coach Tomlin is still a very good head coach. Don't get me wrong. But I don't believe that he's the right head coach for this team and the stage they're in right now. They need an offensive guy to come in and figure out this offense with the weapons that they have. Because if your running back is saying that you don't have an identity, and that is true, because the bad coordinators that you have hired over the last 4 to 5 years, it's ridiculous. With Randy Fichtner, he was terrible. And so many reporters came out and they said, well, Big Ben won them. Mike Tomlin was trying to please Big Ben. If that's the case, you're letting Big Ben run the show. You're the head coach. You run this team. And that was a false narrative that came out many years later. The reason why Randy Fichtner got that job was because he was a quarterback's coach. Yes, but he told Coach Tomlin in his interview, because they love to hire in-house, we're going to run the football. We're going to work off of short passes. It'll open up the deep portions of the field. He prioritized running the football. He prioritized the short passes. That was it. And when they ran no huddle, the offense looked better because Big Ben was idling to his plays. So they moved off of Randy Fichtner, and you bring in Matt Canada, the worst offensive coordinator in Steelers history. And the only reason why he got that job was because of his connection with Mike Tomlin off the field. And you know what? Nepotism, it happens across the world. But the only reason why he got that job was because he helped Coach Tomlin's son get a scholarship in college. He helped recruit him. So he got the offensive coordinator position. Randy Fichtner lasted 1 year. Matt Canada lasted longer than Randy Fichtner. Matt Canada was so bad, they fired him during the season. The Steelers rarely fire coaches. They fired this man during the season. The offense was so bad, you had two coordinators combine their heads together throughout the weeks for the rest of the season to call offensive plays. Your running backs coach and your quarterbacks coach yet again. I know that Eddie Faulkner was a part of that coaching staff at that point in time. If this was any other head coach in the NFL, they would have fired this man. Imagine if Todd Bowles would have done this with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Imagine if Dan Campbell would have done this with the Detroit Lions. And I know Coach Tomlin never has a losing season, has won a Super Bowl in the past with the organization. I'm talking about right now over the last 5 to 6 years. What has he done in the postseason? And this team is waiting for a 41-year-old quarterback to come in and save them. It's not going to happen. Even if you do sign him, it'll be a solid signing. It's not going to make this organization a Super Bowl contender. It's just not going to happen. You have to have an offensive identity. And what Najee Harris is talking about here, a scheme. Instead of just going out there and calling plays, have a scheme. Go out there and target the defense, target the linebackers, target the safeties, target the weak side cornerbacks. This is what Kyle Shanahan does. The same with Sean McVay. The same with Andy Reid. They use leverage. I rarely see the Steelers go out there and use motion. They rarely use motion with Randy Fichtner. They rarely use motion with Matt Canada. They rarely use motion with Arthur Smith. Now, you can overuse motion like the Miami Dolphins, but it will give you a better look at the defense for your quarterback, whether he's in his 40s or he's in his early 20s. It will make life easier, and then you can get some easy yards off of motion. We've seen this with the Seattle Seahawks in the past with Russell Wilson, and they rarely do it. I know one play in particular against the New York Jets. They ran a motion play. George Pickens was able to get some big yards. After that, they went 4 to 5 weeks without using motion again. And it can open up your run game. But Arthur Smith rarely used motion with the Tennessee Titans. So I'm not really shocked here. And they went outside the coaching staff. They went outside their house to bring in Arthur Smith. Usually with this organization, they will go out there, they will hire in-house. They will bring in a wide receiving coach to call plays, a quarterback's coach to call plays, running backs coach, an offensive line coach. And they should not be in this spot because they have talent outside the quarterback position. Like I mentioned, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Pat at the tight end spot, Calvin Austin third. That's a very good receiving core. I look at their offensive line. I like their young offensive line. Outside of Broderick Jones, there's some special players here. Isaac at the left guard position. He's a veteran now. You got him from the Philadelphia Eagles in free agency a couple of years ago. Very good run blocker, solid pass blocker. Zach Frazier at the center position had a very good rookie season. I think that he's going to be a star center moving forward. Mason McCormick at the right guard position. I like him a lot. He was supposed to be a developmental player, but he came in when James Daniels went down with his torn Achilles injury. He had some solid moments. And you had Troy Fautanu. Now, Troy Fautanu missed majority of his rookie season, but in the snaps that he did play in, he looked very good. And we saw him play at Washington. He could play guard. He could play tackle. I like him a lot at the right tackle position. It's a lot of young players, and the same with Broderick Jones. But so far, he is a bust. But in order for this thing to work, they need to fix their offense. I haven't said anything about their defense just yet with personnel. That's how bad their offense has been since Big Ben went down with that elbow injury, against the Seattle Seahawks many years ago when he had to have Tommy John surgery. And the team hasn't been the same. And when I look at them in the first round, even if you take Shedeur Sanders and he falls to the 21st overall pick, you're taking a huge gamble here because you have other needs with your roster besides the quarterback position. Because I look at your defensive line, you need help here. You got bullied by the Baltimore Ravens, not once, but twice last year. Keanu Ben, I like him a lot. I think that he'll be a solid young player moving forward, but he's not a star defensive tackle. You need to bring in someone that can have a Cameron Hayward type of impact right now. I look at Keanu Ben. He's more so of a rotational defensive tackle. Cameron Hayward is still one of the best defensive tackles in the game, but he's 35 years old. He's not going to go out there and play for the next 5 to 6 years. So in the first round, you have a chance to go out there and bring in someone like a Kenneth Grant or a Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. You may have to take that player Because once again, you don't have a second round pick. So you can't draft a quarterback in the second round unless you're going to move up in the second round to take a quarterback. And I hope that it's not Jalen Milroe. I'd rather for him to be off with someone like Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, or Tyler Shutt. Because Jalen Milroe is not accurate. He can run in the open field, but he's more so of a playmaker playing the quarterback position than he is a quarterback. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Has a huge arm, but he reminds me a lot of Malik Willis. And the Steelers, once again, they don't have a proven record of going out there and developing a quarterback to the next level. But you need to bring in someone that can help out Cameron Hayward on the defensive line. You have Alex Highsmith, very good pass rusher. He's a very good number 2 alongside TJ Watt. And we have to talk about TJ Watt here because while everyone is worried about Aaron Rodgers, is he going to sign with this team or not? Is he going to come in? Is he going to be that guy that can push them over the hump? TJ Watt is entering the last year of his contract, and contract negotiations have not went well up to this point. Now, I find it hard to believe that TJ Watt will not retire as a Steeler, but anything can happen. We're in the 2020s of sports. It's rare to find players stay loyal, but TJ Watt needs to be on this roster. In my opinion, he is still the best pass rusher in the NFL. If you say it's Micah Parsons, you say that it's Myles Garrett, I won't argue with you much. But I look at the impact that he has. He is easily the most impactful player with this organization over the quarterback position. They are 1-10 when he is out of the lineup. He is special. And we saw him last year. He had a down year last year. And he still had 11.5 sacks and 6 forced fumbles. The first in the NFL for forced fumbles. 11.5 sacks being a down year for a player like this says a lot about TJ Watt. That's how great that he is. I'm not saying that you go out there and you pay him $40 million for the next 5 years, but you can come down to agreement for the next 3 to 4 years. Give him a contract. You can back end the contract, front end it, however you want to do it, but keep him on this roster because he's special. I'll look at the linebackers. Patrick Queen has some up and down moments, but he's a solid linebacker to have. Peyton Wilson, I like him a lot. That's your linebacking duo, Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen. And Cole Holcomb, more so of a rotational linebacker. Don't be surprised they cut him during the offseason program because of the fact that he can't stay healthy. He missed all of last season because just the season before, he hurt his knee against the Tennessee Titans. And what did he struggle with at the college level? Injuries. What did he struggle with the Washington Commanders? Injuries. Very good tackler, very good linebacker. But his injuries are the reason to why they had to go out there and pay Patrick Queen a lot of money. One of the highest paid defenses in the NFL currently. The secondary, Micah Fitzpatrick, very good free safety. I still have him as a top rated safety in all of football. Joey Porter Jr. I like Joey Porter Jr., but I'm not the biggest fan of Joey Porter Jr. because of the penalties. If he can just push back on those penalties, I think he could be a very special player. But we're entering the stage of his career. Either the penalties are going to die down or he's just going to be who he is. And I think right now he's just going to be a heavily penalized player at this level. His good moments, they're very good. He's a true number 1 cornerback. He just holds too much. And in this division, it's the wide receiving core from hell. You have Jerry Jeudy, who was very good with the Cleveland Browns. You have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Rashard Bateman, and now DeAndre Hopkins. And I know DeAndre Hopkins is way behind his prime, but he can still give you problems in short yardage situations. We saw this with the Chiefs just last season. They brought in Darius Slay. Hopefully he's not the number 2 cornerback. Hopefully that can be Corey. And you can use Darius Slay as a rotational cornerback. Because when I look at Darius Slay, he's going to go down as an all-time great with the Detroit Lions. He was a special cornerback with the Philadelphia Eagles in his first year. He has regressed over the last 2 years with the Eagles. That's why the Eagles went out there. That's why they drafted Cooper DeJean. That's why they went out there. That's why they drafted Quinyon Mitchell, because it'll be time to move on from Darius Slay. Darius Slay, solid cornerback, but he's not going to be able to go out there and hold up against top wide receivers like how he used to 6 or 7 years ago. It's not going to happen. And the Steelers have a nasty habit of doing this. It's really disgusting. They will go out there and they will sign cornerbacks that are behind their prime, like Patrick Peterson, and the same with Joe Hayden. Now, Patrick Peterson was a good safety. As a cornerback, I hated it because they put that man in press man coverage almost every single week. But if Corey can be that number 2 and he can stay healthy, I think there's a lot of upside there. We saw We saw him have a very good game against the Denver Broncos in the first half of the season. So their defense, they're going to be good. The reason why their defense is letting up all those run plays to Saquon, to Derrick Henry, and to the Chiefs here and there, they're gassed. It's a bunch of 3-and-outs by your offense. It's a bunch of turnovers by your offense where there's fumbles by Najee Harris against the Philadelphia Eagles. And to go back to that Najee Harris interview, I feel his frustration. They shouldn't have selected him in the first round to begin with. He was supposed to be the team's offensive identity. He's not a top 5 to top 10 running back in football. So that was a wasted pick in the first round. And they selected Najee Harris because they wanted to squeeze the rest of the life out of Big Ben. They tried to go out there and get the most out of him. You don't do that by trying to get a running back beside him. If you have a problem running the football, 9 times out of 10, it's not your running back. It's your offensive line. So you go and you fix your offensive line. That's what you have to do. And this is the portion about Aaron Rodgers here. Aaron Rodgers can still go out there. He can help you win football games. They will be a playoff contending team with Aaron Rodgers. Without Aaron Rodgers, if they have in Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson, they may go underneath 500. There's a true possibility that that will happen. And if you are a Steelers fan and you have been begging for Coach Tomlin to be fired, this may be the season for you. But look at Aaron Rodgers. He gets a bad rep because of the things that he said in the Pat McAfee interview, because of the fact that he'll come out and he'll call out certain people in the media. I respect it. He can feel the way that he wants to feel. But speaking at it from an unbiased standpoint here, I look at Aaron Rodgers. He played well enough last season to win the New York Jets multiple football games. More football games than they lost last year. They should have won. Because I look at the game against the Denver Broncos. They lost that game 10-9. Aaron Rodgers got them in scoring range not once, not twice, but 3 times. The kicker missed the field goal. And they're in a goal line situation. They went for it. They ran the football with a smaller running back in Breece Hall. They should have ran the football with Braylon Allen. And the kicker was terrible in that matchup. They had 3 chances to win that game. And Aaron Rodgers got them into winning positions. That's just one game. Against the Buffalo Bills, right after they fired Robert Saleh, they lost that matchup 23-20. It was a key interception to Mike Williams. Aaron Rodgers comes out. He says, stay on the red line. You have to stay on the red line. He throws an interception. They would have not been in that situation if it wasn't for the kicker missing not 1, but 2 field goals in that matchup, and you lost that game 23-20. And it doesn't come down to one play, but it does come down to a bunch of crucial plays. That's how all sports leagues work. But Aaron Rodgers was getting the New York Jets into key situations. It just didn't work out. Those are 2 games in particular. Against the Indianapolis Colts, they lost that matchup 28-27. Aaron Rodgers is going out there. He's playing a very good game. Anthony Richardson runs all over that defense because their defense was terrible against the run. Anthony Richardson, they go for 2, game-winning touchdown. They get the touchdown, then they go with 2. They walk off the field. That was it. That's on Aaron Rodgers. That's on the defense. Another situation, the Miami Dolphins, they lost this game in overtime, 32-26. Aaron Rodgers gets them back into the game in the 4th quarter. Tua goes out there, does his thing, going to overtime. Tua to Jonnu Smith, game over in overtime. So those are multiple games where Aaron Rodgers played well enough to win. The rest of the team let him down. And he does have his flaws because he's not the same quarterback that he once was. But I look at the Steelers, they better hope that he signs if they want to contend for this upcoming season. But this theory that the Steelers are tanking to bring in a quarterback in the 2026 draft class, I find it hard to believe. Coach Tomlin has never had a losing season. This man has won football games with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph. He went to the playoffs while all 3 of those quarterbacks were starting in the same season. That is how much of an edge that he has in the regular season over other teams in the NFL. He's a very good regular season coach. It's just the postseason for him. They just can't get over the hump. And call me crazy if they sign Aaron Rodgers and you bring in defensive tackle and you can work on your offensive identity and bring in yet another running back to play alongside Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, you could be onto something here. But eventually, you're going to have to figure out this quarterback position. You have to develop a quarterback. You can't continue to treat this position like it's a revolving door. It's not going to work out for you, and it's not going to be pretty. Because right now, you're not in a good situation with having Mason Rudolph and having Skylar Thompson. You look at some of the best teams across football, the Eagles, they developed Jalen Hurts. The Chiefs, they drafted Patrick Mahomes, they developed Patrick Mahomes. That's what they did. The Buffalo Bills drafted Josh Allen, they developed Josh Allen. And we've seen offensive coaches come and go from all of those organizations, except for Andy Reid because he's an offensive head coach. But all those teams have something in common. The same with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, draft him, develop him. The same with Lamar Jackson, draft him, develop him. You're going to have to draft your guy, whether it's in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whichever round he's in. Draft him, put him in the best situation, let him develop. That's how you gain an edge in today's NFL. The quarterback position can mask a lot of your problems, but it won't fix everything if you don't have the fundamentals down to the T. And right now, the Steelers, they do not have the offensive fundamentals down to the T. And that's why they're stuck in the situation that they're in right now. You have your former running back that was with this team for many years, over 1,000 yards rushing every single season. He came out and he said, we don't have an offensive identity. And he's not the first player to say this. We've heard former offensive linemen say this also. Said, we don't know what the hell we're doing on the offensive end. We're just calling plays. And we saw this with so many offensive coaches in the past. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about this Aaron Rodgers situation with the Steelers? And should the Steelers still be all in with Aaron Rodgers? And I'm going to say one more thing about this. This will be a different situation because Aaron Rodgers is basically making the Steelers look stupid by saying, hey, I'm not forcing them to wait. They're doing this on their own. You had Mike Tomlin come out and essentially confirm, we talked with Aaron Rodgers, we want Aaron Rodgers. You have the owner coming out and say, hey, we're willing to wait. We're willing to be patient, but only for so long. Why would you let this man know that he holds all the cards right now? He can sign whenever he wants to. He can sign 3 weeks before the season starts. He just has to participate in the offensive programming. And if I came on here on this channel 2 years ago, and I did, and I was saying, hey, Coach Saleh's letting a lot of things go by with Aaron Rodgers right now by bringing in Nathaniel Hackett, bringing in some of his guys. Why are you doing that? You're letting him run the team instead of you, the coach, having a thumb on the heartbeat of the team. You're letting Aaron Rodgers overtake what you're supposed to do right now. They said they wanted to go out there. They wanted to reset with Zach Wilson. They wanted him to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. They made him the face of the franchise. The Steelers, you can't do that. Even though Aaron Rodgers did have 28 passing touchdowns, 7th most in the NFL, to 11 interceptions for 3,897 passing yards. That was the 8th most. And I also find it very funny with what he said with Aaron Glenn. He met with the New York Jets. He wanted to stay with the New York Jets. Keep that in mind if you're a Steelers fan. He wanted to stay with the New York Jets. The Jets told him, go kick rocks. That's what Aaron Glenn told him. We're moving on. And he got upset. Now, this is what Aaron Rodgers had to say to Pat McAfee. He came out and he said, they made me fly all the way across the country to meet them. And they told me to my face that they're done with me. He was upset about that. Listen to how crazy this is. He was upset that the coach told him his plans moving forward did not involve him. And he told Aaron Glenn and he told Pat McAfee, they could have just told me this on the phone instead of wasting my time. Aaron, the way that business is expected to be conducted, if you're a professional, you'll rather tell a person face to face. Even at a regular job, they're going to tell you face to face. And that's a professional way to do it. As a man, same as a grown woman. Thank you for your services. We don't want you anymore. He tried to paint Aaron Glenn to be the bad guy. Aaron Glenn came out right after he told him that, and he said, hey, how do you want this to be presented to the media? And Aaron Rodgers came out and said, I don't give a damn how it's presented to the media. And he walked out. Aaron Glenn is a former player in the NFL with the New Orleans Saints. He was trying to help Aaron Rodgers save his reputation. But yet you go out there and you made yourself look like a complete clown in front of Pat McAfee because the team told you to your face, we don't want you back. So he's not going to retire. I know that he said that retirement is a possibility. It's not going to happen. He doesn't want to retire in that fashion. He'll rather go out there and retire with one more run with an organization like the Steelers or the Minnesota Vikings. And now you may have turmoil in your locker room because you have Cameron Hayward. He came out and he says, either you want to be a Steeler or you don't. This is a complete mess, but I don't blame Aaron Rodgers. I blame the Steelers organization. I blame everyone that's in power right now. Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, and the ownership. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys.